On the world news, more than 70,000 Russian military have died in Ukraine and 70 people have been killed in Mali by an Al-Qaeda-linked group. This is the world news. A beautiful afternoon to you and thanks for joining us on the world news on Providence Television International. My name is Edna Caesar Garrick. Now the details. According to data analysis, more than 70,000 people fighting in Russian military have now died in Ukraine, and for the first time, volunteers civilians who joined the armed forces after the start of the war now wake up the highest number of the people killed on the battlefield since Russia's full-scale invasion began in 2022. Every day, the names of those killed in Ukraine, their obituaries and photographs from their funerals are published across Russia in the media and on social network. New graves and cemeteries have also helped provide the names of soldiers killed in Ukraine. These are usually marked by flags and words sent by the defense military. The numbers of Russian soldiers killed in Ukraine are up to 76,112, but it is believed that the actual number might be higher. Among them, 13,781 were volunteers, about 20%, and fatalities among volunteers now exceed other categories. Since October last year, weekly fatalities of volunteers have not dipped below 100, and in some weeks, we have recorded more than 310 volunteers' deaths. As for Ukraine, it rarely comments on the scale of its deaths on the battlefield. In February, its president Volodymyr Zelensky said 31,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed, but estimates based on U.S. intelligence suggest greater losses. Most of the volunteers dying at the front are aged between 42 to 50. The number 4,100 men in the list of more than 13,000 volunteers. The oldest volunteer killed was 71 years old. A total of 250 volunteers above the age of 60 have died in the war. Storm Boris is battling the northern, eastern and central regions of Italy days after causing widespread flooding in Central Europe. More than 1,000 residents in the northern eastern region of Emilia-Romagna have been evacuated since towns in the central region of Marche reported serious flooding and disruption. 2 people have been reported missing. On Thursday, European Mission President Ursula von der Leyen announced €10 billion of EU funding for affected country. Von der Leyen made the announcement after meeting the leaders of the Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia and Austria to discuss aid for the flood-hit region. The meeting was held in the Polish city of Wrocław in southern eastern Poland, which has been threatened by higher river levels for days. Speaking at a news briefing afterward, von der Leyen said extraordinary time called for extraordinary measures. Her comment came after as Italy became the latest country to suffer the fury of Storm Boris, a low-pressure system which swept across Poland, Czech Republic, Romania and Austria, killing at least 23 people. Schools across the Emilia-Romagna have closed some roads were impacted by landslide, and railways traffic has been severely disrupted. Authorities want residents to stay out of their basement and to relocate to the upper floor of their homes. Schools, libraries and parks were shut in Ravenna, and the University of Bologna cancelled exams and lessons. The city of Faenza has been the worst affected, with the levels of the 2 rivers crossing it rising rapidly overnight. More than 70,000 people are thought to have been killed in an attack by an Al-Qaeda-linked group on Mali's capital, Bamako. Earlier this week, according to diplomatic and security sources, headline fighter from the Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam Wal as Muslim JNIM carried out the attack on an allied police training academy and the nearby airport on Tuesday, prompting shock and anger in the West African country. A security source speaking on condition of anonymity told reporters that 77 people had been killed and 255 injured in the attack. An authenticated confidential official document put the toll at about 100, identifying 81 victims. Two diplomats serving in the region, including one based in Bamako, said the death toll was believed to be in the 70s. A third diplomat based in the region said hundreds were believed dead and injured, and hospitals had run out of bed to treat victims. The country is fighting an armed uprising that began more than a decade ago in its arid north. It has also spread to neighboring country in the Sahel region, leaving thousands dead and forcing millions from their homes. The attacks undermines claims from the military, which seized power in a coup in 2021, to have stabilized the situation after the departure of French troops and turning to Russia for security. Mali's military rulers have acknowledged some losses. JNIM claimed that a few dozens of its fighters had killed and wounded hundreds from the opposing ranks, including members of the Russian mercenary war Wagner. If you are just joining us, this is the World News on Providence Television International. After weeks of tension that saw the Central Bank of Libya, CBL, shooting salary go unpaid and cash vanish, the country's two rival governments appeared ready to accept a United Nations brokered agreement to resume operation before once more reverting to a deadlock similar to many in the country. The international recognized government of National Accord in the West had tried to replace CBL Governor Sadiq Al-Kabir, causing him to mishandling oil revenues and going to the extent of sending armed men in to remove him from his office. Angered, the government of National Unity GNU in the eastern Libya, which is supported by Brigade Commander Khalifa Haftar, shut down much of the country's oil production, which it controls, in protest. The clash is the latest battleground in the 13-year rivalry between political and military elites that has dogged Libya since the overthrow of long-term ruler Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. Since then, various analysts say life in Libya has deteriorated as fighting has continued between rival Libyans, and as the international community has tried to pressure the group of a political and military elite convinced they are the best for stability and for the proclaimed goal of unifying Libya. Away from the foreign scene now, back home, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Friday called on all stakeholders in the upcoming Edo State governorship election to conduct themselves peacefully and sportingly. Tinubu conveyed this message in a statement signed by his special advisor on information and strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, titled President Tinubu's urges peace and civility in Edo State governorship election. Onanuga said the president implores the governorship candidates, political parties and supporters to respect the democratic process and the people's will. The president, who noted that the Independent National Electoral Commission has committed to conducting a free and fair election, urged all stakeholders to work together to ensure a successful and peaceful process. Tinubu commended the governorship candidates and political parties for their campaign, which have focused on issues that matter most to the people of Edo State, including improving livelihood, promoting economic growth, and contributing to national development. He urged all citizens in the state to remain peaceful and respectful throughout the voting process, encouraging them to resolve any disagreement amicably through the constituted authorities. Borno government says it has realized over 12 billion naira in cash and material donations for victims of the Alau Dam flood disaster in Maiduguri. The senior special advisor on new media to Borno Governor Abdurrahman Bundi gave the update on the donations for the Maiduguri Relief Fund on Thursday in Maiduguri. Bundi said the donations came from corporate entities, state governments, states and National Assembly members, individuals and non-governmental organizations. List of donors showed that the Northeast Development Commission donated 3 billion naira and foodstuff, Aliko Dangote 2 billion naira, Aminu Dantata 1.5 billion naira, and Mohammed Idimi 1 billion naira. Other donors were Borno LGA's 1.2 billion naira, Oluremi Tinubu 500 million naira, Bauchi and Niger State 250 million each, while the people of Southern Borno donated 200 million naira. Other things donated include 10 trucks of fertilizer and foodstuffs worth over 120 million naira, 6 trucks of rice, spaghetti and sugar, and 50 million naira each by some individuals. With that, we've come to the end of the world news. But before we go, let's take a look at some stories that made headlines. Reported the report which says after weeks of tension that saw the Central Bank of Libya, CBL, shuttered, salaries go unpaid and cash vanish, the country's two rivalry government appeared ready to accept a United Nations brokered agreement to resume operations before once more reverting to a deadlock familiar to many in the country. More than 70 people are thought to have been killed in an attack by an Al-Qaeda-linked group on Mali's capital, Bamako, earlier this week, according to diplomatic and security sources. Hardline fighters from the Jamaat Nusra al-Islam carried out the attack on an elite police training academy and the nearby airport on Tuesday, prompting shock and anger in the West African country. Boris is battling the north, east and central region of Italy days after causing widespread flooding in Central Europe. More than 1,000 residents in the northeastern region of Emilia-Romagna have been evacuated, while towns in the central region of Marche reported serious flooding and disruption. And finally, according to data analysis, more than 70,000 people fighting in Russian military have now died in Ukraine. And for the first time, volunteer civilians who joined the armed forces after the start of the war now make up the highest number of people killed on the battlefield since Russia's full-scale invasion began in 2022. That's our package. Thanks for watching. Edna Zagarik is my name. Good afternoon.